My name is Bruce Matson. Today we're going to talk about 5 wide receivers who are scary that you need to trade right now in Dynasty Fantasy Football. Let's dig into it and let's get to it. First player we're going to talk about today is an aging veteran. There's a lot of ambiguity in the situation. He's getting kind of dicey, but he's still holding a lot of value. You can pivot away right now if you really want to, and that's Davante Adams. He's ranked 24th overall in startup ADP, being drafted as the wide receiver 13, so he's still holding value on the market. He's 30 years old. Last year was pretty productive with 8 wide receiver 1 weeks. He signed with the Raiders through 2026, but he has a potential out on his contract in 2024. Derek Carr is gone. We do not know who's going to be throwing the ball. It could be a rando. It could be a stud quarterback. It could be Aaron Rodgers again. We don't know. We're kind of in a dark place here. We won't know till something happens, but he's not getting any younger. And if he's stuck with a jabroni, then we might get jabroni results. And if he has a down season here in 2023, then his dynasty stock will plummet because he's 30 years old, and it's not going to get pretty from there. When we go to dynastyleaguefootball.com and look at their trade analyzer to see where he should be valued in a range of outcomes, he's currently being valued as the 102 pick in rookie drafts in 1 QB leagues and around the 102 in Superflex. So he is holding some value there. And then on the trade market, you can pivot away from him on some players, maybe some packages, but guys like Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, if you want to look at quarterback, Drake London, Devonta Smith, if you want to get younger at wide receiver, or if you want to take that tight end gamble, you can try out Kyle Pitts, but those are some players you can go after to see if you can catch a deal. We have another scary wide receiver who's experienced some injuries throughout his career. Not the most productive season last year. Not to his upside, which we've seen in the past. But he's also getting older. And he's being valued kind of high where you can pivot away and catch a bag. And I'm talking about Deebo Samuel from the 49ers being drafted as the 20th player overall off the board in startup ADP as the wide receiver 16. He's 27 years old. Last season, he gave you 2 wide receiver 1 weeks, 2 wide receiver 2 performances, and he had a 23.68% market share of the team's passing production, but had a 4.2 average depth of target here. So the production wasn't there to the price, didn't really give you the return on investment compared to where he was being drafted at a year ago. Dipped a little bit in ADP. We saw a little bit of decrease there. We could see more going forward, or we could see him hover about the same. But considering he's becoming an older asset now, the other shoe could drop, and his value is not going to get higher. The days of him being valued as a wide receiver 1 or a low-end wide receiver 1, those are probably gone. Maybe wide receiver 2 range is probably what we're looking at in terms of value going forward until his career is done, and it could be lower than that, depending on what happens, because he does have an extensive injury history throughout his career. He's got some competition for targets in that offense. Quarterback situation is pretty ambiguous. You're talking about Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, other jabronis. You don't know. He caught 56 balls for 632 yards last year. Could be seeing stat lines like that going forward. So there's some risk here. But we have some younger pivots. We have some other pivots to do. Going back to the trade analyzer for DLF here, in 1 QB leagues, he's being valued as the 103. A good price point to get out at. A good baseline. Superflex, it's 104. So mid to early first round rookie picks. We're going to have a lot of good players in this year's rookie drafts when it comes to running backs and wide receivers. Players to trade for. You can get younger again. Devonta Smith, Kyle Pitts, some younger players. DeAndre Swift has seen a decrease in value. Should decrease throughout the offseason once we infuse these rookies into the mix. Mark Andrews, a high-priced tight end, but right at that value spot where you might be able to make that flip. There's also other players in that range, so be creative when you try and make those deals. But we have another aging wide receiver and the same storyline making him scary. A lot of injuries throughout his career. He's in a good situation, which is propping up his fantasy value, which is always good. But the quarterback can't always make you go burr. And even if they do, that allows you some extra time to pivot. We're talking about Mike Williams from the Chargers. He's being drafted as the 57th player overall off the board. Wide receiver 29. So value's not high, but it's high enough to where you can cash out if you want. Last year, he gave you 4 wide receiver 1 weeks, 2 wide receiver 2 weeks, but had a 17.99% target share and averaged 86 air yards per game. Has a potential out on his contract at the end of 2023. And at that time, he will be 29 years old. That situation sounds very scary. Even if you get past that situation, he's still on the Chargers, still with Herbert. He's still not getting any younger. And we're at a top-tier age. He's never been considered a top-tier talent. So typically, players who are not top-tier talents don't leak into production well into their 30s. So you have to keep that in mind. On top of that, he's got that injury history that we've been dealing with, and he's been dealing with for all throughout his career. But going to the trade analyzer over at DLF, he's worth around the 110 rookie pick in 1 QB leagues, about the 111 in Superflex. Very similar value, probably around that range in both formats. Players you can pivot to who are younger, better bill of health, some different situations here. Christian Kirk, Deontay Johnson. Maybe you can catch a George Kittle. Jerry Jeudy's on the upswing. I don't know if you can catch that, but another guy you can take a chance on. Again, guys in this value range on the Trade Finder, maybe you can catch some luck with on the pivot if you're trying to get out of Williams on your Dynasty team. I got another player for you who's holding some value due to his situation, due to having some upswing games, but the value's kind of high where you can get out right now, considering there is some risk for the long term. That's Gabe Davis from the Buffalo Bills. He's being drafted as the 78th player overall, the wide receiver 39. He turns 24 this April, so he's not an aging prospect, but he's a late round prospect with 0 sunk costs, so the team could pivot, add more players, do whatever, and impact his situation like that. He has 3 wide receiver 1 games in his 3-year career. About 1 a year he gives you. 6 wide receiver 2 games in his 3-year career, so it gives you about 3 wide receiver 2 games a year on average. He's a deep ball specialist per this offense, making him more like a fake Will Fuller because he doesn't have the speed to back it up. He is getting you about 94 air yards per game and a 15.31 average depth of target, but the consistency's not there. He's played through injuries, but still, we can't rely on that for him to have a bounce back, considering the situation here that he's relying on deep targets here, and he's very boom or bust and shaky, considering you're getting a wide receiver 39 price point out of this, and the pivot is quite nice here. It's worth a late first in 1 QB and about the same in Superflex leagues when you look at the trade analyzer. Deshaun Watson, Calvin Ridley, some players you can pivot to. Dak Prescott if you need a quarterback. Cam Akers if you need to get a running back. Rachaad White, maybe if you add to it, but the trade analyzer says it might be possible that you can catch a Rachaad White, a young running back who catches passes out of the backfield. Players in that value range, if you get creative with, maybe you can get a good pivot out of Gabe Davis. That's something you may want to look for your Dynasty team. Now, I got an old veteran here. Injuries again. This is the major story here with all these players. Injuries is making them scary. Also, age is coming into terms here. We're talking about Courtland Sutton of the Denver Broncos. He's being drafted as the 75th player off the board, wide receiver 38. Had 3 wide receiver 1 weeks last year. He's 27 years old, so he's not getting any younger, just like everybody else. The Broncos offense was bad this season. We're hoping that Sean Payton comes in and saves the day and it's money printer go burr with Russ Wilson, but that might not happen. And even if it does happen, how much is he going to shoot up in value? Is it going to actually happen? Can he get a full season in without getting hurt? Because that has been a question mark here, and now it's time to really look at the market to see if you can get out. He's being valued as the 112 on the trade analyzer. Very similar in Superflex. Late first round, early second round rookie pick range, which is very good with this draft class. You're going to have to be creative because in some markets, they ain't going to catch it because people are holding these picks with an iron fist, and I understand that because we got some good players on the board in this year's rookie draft class. Also, other players you can pivot to that you might catch some luck with, maybe James Cook, because that's a good, young, talented running back that you can catch. David Montgomery, aging running back, but could patch up that spot. James Conner, same situation. Calvin Ridley, going to a grand situation with Trevor Lawrence. That might be the ideal guy to go after right now, but I think that price is currently going up by the day, so you better act quick just in case you have a chance for that. But let's recap the 5 scary wide receivers that you need to trade right now. Davante Adams. He's old. He has no quarterback right now. Things are very ambiguous. Deebo Samuel. He still holds a lot of value. He's getting older, has dealt with injuries. Very ambiguous at the quarterback position going into next year. Mike Williams. Contract status in the near future is going to be frustrating for a lot of fantasy gamers. Going to be 29 years old in a year during that time. Very risky. Gabe Davis. The price is kind of high. His value fluctuates. His production fluctuates. You may want to get out of that considering he's very off and on. Courtland Sutton. Still holding value considering the production, considering the injuries, considering the status of the Denver Broncos. Make sure you check out dynastyleaguefootball.com and 4for4.com for more fantasy football content. And I know you're looking for more trade advice. I got another video for you right there. Just click that box. You're good to go. I want to thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.